Dopo questa esperienza,
And after this experience that has given us a clear picture of cultural principles, I now give the floor to Jannie Jeppesen. She works in Sweden, although she is Danish. She is head of a school, and we wanted to include the experience of a principal because principal can certainly advance innovation in schools. So now we're going beyond the classroom dimension with Jannie Jeppesen.
I didn't understand a word she said because I didn't have my ears, but I hope you said good things. I hope, thank you for being so energetic because it's really late and I'm going to shorten down my presentation because I hijacked some of yours. I want to tell you a very personal story on how difficult, I'm not supposed to swear here in Catholic Italy, but it was so fucking difficult to start a school with this kind of architecture. And I'm going to tell you this story because I really want you. How many of you are architects? Just a few. How many work in schools? Oh, many of you. So don't do my mistakes. Do it the right way from the beginning. And I love Telephonplan, and I'm going to tell you all the good things we did as well. Quickly on my background, I have been working in schools for like 15, even more, many years, and has had an interest within digital competencies and learning. And I was working in different roles as a teacher, as an ICT developer, and as a consultant for municipalities with these questions. So this is something that really have at heart. You understand my digital interest, and I'm very interested in the pedagogical process of learning. That is my nerd thing. So that's my background. I had never in my whole life wanted to become a principal. That is the worst job you can ever have. That was my idea of it. So that was not an ambition, but one day I got an offer I couldn't refuse. This is a scene from The Godfather, where you get a horse's head in the bed, which is an offer you can't refuse because you know it will give you bad consequences. And the consequences for me, when I got the offer sounded like this. We want you to lead the school where you can become involved in the design. We want you to stretch the idea of what a learning environment is. We want you to stretch the idea of what pedagogy can do. You are going to have all the digital environments you want. You are going to be able to hire every single teacher, handpick them. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to make the change that I have been working for 15 years, but now I will have the resources. So I needed to take the job. But that was partly how it felt. So this was my new job as a principal, which is also important in the equation. And as you see in some of the pictures, this was pictures that on a drawing stage were used when I recruited and handpicked all the progressive teachers. And this is an awesome school, right? It's beautiful. It says to kids, we built this school for you. That is what it tells kids when we talk about the power structure. This is designed for you, not for anybody else. And you talked about the principles. As you see, there were 5 by then. You have developed the principles further. And I'm not going to stay there. Maybe you want to take a photograph because you have a good description on what kind of processes they are involved in. But you got the idea before. And the idea was that this was something that I used in my leadership with the teachers for planning how they would plan their education, their teaching. We know that we need to have a great deal of variation in teaching. As today, we cannot sit like this all day. We cannot hold a school day by day doing this all the time. We need variation. And we need variation within every lesson, every class, or every hour, especially the younger the kids are. But I think that I don't think you need to be 6-year-old. You can be 44, because I'm completely restless now after physically. But we need to take this into account when we plan. We need to know why we are doing things. So we need to know that if I want the kids to have a learning situation to develop creativity, what kind of learning situation do I need to offer then? So you need to have that with you. I had a pedagogical model as well, and I'm going to run you through it. It's very easy. This is stuff I do with parents. It sounds like I say that parents are the most stupidest people, so I need to be very clear and basic, but we are all parents, and everybody is not professionally a pedagogue. The idea here is that we who work with learning, we know that learning takes part within the learner. So we need to meet the learner where the learner is and connect with previous experiences, previous knowledge, language capabilities and stuff like that, in order to connect to the learner. And our main job is, as you see, I'm not a good drawer, but you see 3 little dots on the brain there. We need to develop their synapses. Because if we put them in a situation where they think certain thoughts, it will grow physically. And they will get better at thinking those kinds of thoughts. If we don't do certain things, we will have non-growth in those areas. So we need to know what we're doing, and we need to design situations so that we know that they grow in the right place. So that's kind of a biological base of learning. So everything needs to have the learner at the center. We talked about it all day, the centered learning. I want to add one thing. In schools, as a comment for the rest of the day, it's not individualized learning, it's individualized learning in a group context. People are social, we work in social contexts, we work in group, nobody will learn anything by themselves. And in school, we organized groups of individuals. So group first, from there, individuals. So not only individuals, I just wanted to say that. I'm a nerd. And the most difficult thing is, how can my teachers know that they really are designing situations to develop skills? Not just content or knowledge on kings or philosophers or whoever. Because you need to know you develop skills. And one is digital competence. It's a very wide, it's a difficult area. It's everything from handling digital tools, to understanding digital tools, to understanding digitalization on society and how I will, ethics, blah, blah. It's very wide. Creativity, I think we have 200 different definitions of creativity in this room, but creativity can be everything from problem solving in mathematics to, doing the dishes more efficiently every day, or, handling small problems, to the larger, more innovative, and also having grit, being able to fail, handle to fail, and try again. That's also a part of creativity. So we have this different, we can exchange these skills, and my idea was that if we have a model for this, where teachers can evaluate when they're planning their education, we can also evaluate, are we doing the right things? So I'm going to take you through a short description here. We are taking a very basic dramaturgy of an assignment we give students. This is only an example. This is mathematics. You're 7 years old or something. You have maybe had two apples, put them together to understand that this is a value, and now we have abstracted the value to something abstract, which is a sign that stands for a value. And then we have an operation, a plus, that means that you have an operation again and you will have an answer. This is a dramaturgy. If we should evaluate this one, we can also take another example. You know, you have a history text, and by the end of each chapter you have 10 study questions. That's the same kind of dramaturgy, because the questions tells you that what you're supposed to do with the text. And now we are going to check how engaged our learners are within this operation. And we have creativity. We have different, you can have a degree of creativity, or 1 or 2, or deeper. So that was the scale we used. So in this sense, we can ask the question, to what extent is the learner engaged, asking own questions, being involved, setting problems ahead of themselves when it comes to this dramaturgy? 0. Because we have a fixed answer, there is no other way of doing this, it's just do the operation, thank you. So we have a 0 on creativity on this exercise. On digital competence, no, not if the thing is done on paper and pen. With paper and pen, we don't have it. So it's a 0 there too. Metacognition, to learn how to learn, to be aware yourself how to learn, and to be able to describe it and find new strategies. In that sense, no, we don't give the student a possibility for that. And in collaboration, if this is a one student, one assignment in a book, which it is, we don't give them an opportunity to develop collaborative skills. This is very simplified, as you understand, but it needs to be simple in order for it to work a day-to-day basis, but we need to have a joint understanding in the teacher gang. So this is one way of designing a learning situation. Sorry. Another set of designing a learning situation which definitely made the mathematical thought synapses when it comes to addition and values grow a bit. It did. But if we change the design of the learning situation and said, I just write a number 2 on the board, and I say to the group of kids, sit yourself in group, you have pen and paper, find so many answers, so many questions to the answer 2 as you can. They will talk mathematics. One idea will be thought by the other because the other hears it, so we have multiple synapses growing. We will definitely see addition, so I will know that for sure I will have addition synapse working. I will also get so many different types of questions from the students, and they will jointly do it together, so they will think each other's thought, and then we will have a set of other operations also working, and at the same time they are talking to each other, they are doing a group thing. So in evaluating this one, we would get more, we wouldn't get 0s, but I have constructed the same learning content really, but I have also put them in a skills developed situation that I am very aware of as a teacher. This is, as architects, you understand that this is different demands on a group, on an environment, depending on how I work, on the furniture maybe only. Give me 5, yeah. I can talk forever. So we had this school, we had this amazing principals who was very engaged, we had the best progressive teachers in all of Stockholm area, we had a pedagogical model, we knew what we wanted, everybody was on board, we were excited. What could possibly go wrong? We put in like some kids in the school. And the kids, they are not, listening to what designers or other people or grown-ups tell them. They go on impulse in a large more extent. We have been trained not to go on impulse all the time, but they're much more impulsive, which means that they see a floor here. If I was 6, I would just, wow, I can run, and I would just fire away before thinking. So we need to have the user experience, I think, a little bit more within, this was the pilot project also, so I think we saw some difficulties because just building, we saw some difficulties. I'm going to go into it more. But the most interesting part of difficulties, it was, and it has been said all day, especially from the fantastic Oxford people here, it's that it doesn't lie on the design and the vision and what we wanted to achieve. It lied in the competence of the teachers because we need to have completely new methods to work in this space. You're stripped of your own experience as a teacher when you don't have the settings around you. This is the floor plan of the house, and as you see, it's very kind of open. We had classroom. Classrooms are great for certain things, so we need classrooms also. But going to lunch in this thing was 2 hours during the day when all these kids are going to lunch. It was something that was really taking a lot of our time. And this is a meme that you see all over. You know, people post this on Facebook, and you think you're wise when you think that we must leave our comfort zone more. That's where we learn. And I think this is now in perspective. This is something that almost provoked me because in real life it doesn't look like that. In Telephonplan it looked like this. It's in Swedish, but I guess you can understand it. We do have a panic zone, which is outside the learning zone. When you get in the panic zone, that's when you get in the panic zone when you don't know how to find your way back to the comfort zone. And Oxford said it again. Somebody said, we wanted to build a house where we couldn't go back to square one. We wanted to force pedagogical development by doing that. And we didn't have anything in the house. We didn't have stuff, we couldn't just run back to the classroom standards because we didn't have enough to do that. So we needed to start working. And what happened was that after 3 months we opened the school, I would have teachers coming into my office crying, saying that I'm the lousiest teacher I have ever been. I don't know if I'm good enough to work at this school. And I had the best teachers in the Stockholm area coming to me crying, and everybody come to me one-on-one because they didn't want to tell the other ones how they felt, because that would be stripping themselves from their dignity in some way. So they came to me crying. I went at home at night crying by myself because I couldn't definitely not show my teachers that I felt exactly the same thing. And then somebody told me, it was just somebody I met looked at me and said, "How are you doing?" And I was just, "Not good." And they said, "You need to think that the thing you're doing now is the most difficult thing you can ever do. The house you have built, the ideas you have on pedagogy, all of those things, it's a transformation that is extreme. And you need to focus on the learning curve of your own learning curve and on the teacher's learning curve." And this was a change for me since I was so focused on what the teachers did with the kids. So what I needed to do, I showed this to my teachers. The next day I collected the teachers and I showed this to them. And I said, "You're down in the learning pit. You're in the blackest hole ever. There is a way up." And then they shared that they had the same feeling, all of them. And can we put on our curious glasses to see what is not working? And then they started talking to each other and working with, we have lost our sense of control. And we need to change our methods from control to motivation. And that's a complete 180 shift. But they did it together, and as a principal, my leadership was, I needed to ask the same question for myself. What kind of learning situations do I offer my teachers? Where do they have a watering hole? Where do they have a campfire for their professional development? Where do they have a mountaintop where they describe to each other what they have been doing? And all of those stuff. Where do they reflect the cave situation? So I started to design my leadership to design an innovative culture within the teacher staff, because that's where the problem really was. And it was not strange. So what happened was that we found ways of finding learning loops for ourselves. We would try something new, fail, be curious on why we failed, try again, a bit different, and then, or maybe just discard it. This didn't work. Let it go. We'll do something else. What happened was that we developed so many different pedagogical methods, because in Sweden we have a saying that suffering is the mother of all invention. And we wanted to survive, so we needed to start swimming. So we invented so many new methods in order to find the motivational pedagogy get going. So this is an app that is released next year. It comes from Telephonplan, developed there. It's a gamification on visualizing skills for kids and students. One slide, last slide. I'm trying to shorten it down here. My tips is that time is diamonds. Find easy tools. To get teacher time is really difficult. Find easy tools to evaluate your methods. Use the environment as a support to your methods. The environment are supposed to support what you want to do, what learning situations. So involve the teachers in their own learning process. Involve the kids as well in their own learning process. Steal the teacher's time. I took 2 hours each week where I collected teachers, and it was pedagogical hours, 2 hours, and they hated it. But we made so much things happen there. Focus on teacher development, because learning environment is nothing. The teachers I had, they could do the best school ever out in the woods. But you need an environment to support the teacher. So put this teacher's need in the center, but also put the teachers out of their comfort zone and in the panic zone sometimes. Because otherwise we will have, the school develops as quickly as church. We cannot stay there because the society changes. So out in the panic zone, but we need some comfort zones. So that was a leadership perspective on moving into the most Googled school in the world. And this is the exam I got. There was one book released that one of my teachers wrote after after we left. And it's in Swedish, but it's inside the book, and you understand the word terror. And she said, "Thank you for your terror, because I was a terroristic leader when it comes to putting people out in the panic zone." But it gave results. So, thank you.
Grazie a Jannie, credo che fosse veramente importante avere anche la voce del dirigente scolastico, che ha un ruolo chiave nell'abilitare e supportare i processi di innovazione. In particolare Jannie ci ha fatto vedere anche momenti di criticità, come possono essere vissuti e superati, nella speranza di non permanere nella panic zone, ma di riuscire anche ad uscirne. Ma le suggestioni sono state moltissime e io non voglio...
And how you can get out of the panic zone. And I would like to ask you if you have any questions or if you'd like to make comments. So we can use these last few minutes for a bit of Q&A. There's a roaming mic if you want to ask questions.
Nessuno, siamo molto stanchi.
We're all very tired.
È stata veramente interattiva, io ringrazio.
This has been a very interesting and interactive session. I would like to thank the speakers for this very interesting triangular exchange on architecture, education, schools and design. Thank you very much to you all. I would like to hand over to Samuele Borri for his conclusions. Thank you once again. I won't say anything other than thank you. Thank you to all the people who've joined us today. I would like to thank the speakers for having accepted our invitation, and they have provided us with an extraordinarily diversified picture. As you can see, school is evolving in many parts of the world, and I would also like to thank, if I may, the researchers, members of INTERNAZIONALE who've organized this event. Thank you.
Il materiale.
Let me add that the conference proceedings will be made available both in the form of a recording for the benefit of the architects present, so you will have access online to all of this material. Plus, as I said, the meeting proceedings will be available on our website, a website that we are still working on. An ad hoc website is going to be devoted to school architecture, so you will find the presentations and the translations of the presentations. Not a literal translation, but a sort of post-production. So please check our website. You will find this material there, so you'll have the opportunity to follow what we've been doing. You will find all of this material on Google shortly. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening, everyone.